an Irish Catholic, but as Catholicism has a different stand on gay marriage. Ito naman pong si San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom has the opposite stand, and he explains that to us right about now. And speaking of decisions, one decision that came out big yesterday was the overturning of Proposition 8.
Yeah.
And I asked you about this before. You
Yes.
come from an Irish Catholic background.
I know.
Filipinos are mostly Catholic,
I know.
and sadly, not many Filipinos agree with the decision yesterday.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on
Even
that?
though I have strong support in the Filipino community, and that's because I totally understand the opposition. As I think I mentioned to you when we were last here, I have family members that have a different point of view of me. That I went to Jesuit University, Santa Clara University. I was raised by the nuns. I mean, literally at Notre Dame des Victoires, for better, for worse. Sometimes when I got in trouble as a young child, lovingly I say that, nothing serious. Just late to class or something. But so I have great admiration and respect for the church. Church's been a huge part of my life. It'll be a huge part of my daughter's life.
Right.
But I believe in a fundamental principle of equality. It's just who I am. I'll never run the 90-yard dash on gender equality. I'm always going to fight for women's rights, and we still have a lot of work to do there. I'm always going to fight for the rights of people based on their race and ethnicity to be treated completely the same and equally. And I believe on that basis, person's sexual orientation. It's just who I am. It's what I believe. And here's what I'd say to people. You can disagree with me on this issue, but at least you know where I stand.
Right.
How many politicians do we really know what they think?
Exactly.
They may be saying something, but is that what they really believe? At least it's what I believe.
Okay, so that's settled. It's what you believe. But see, the thing is, some people are also contending, we voted on it. Does it mean that our votes don't count anymore?
No.
Because then if it goes the other way and people don't agree, they can make an appeal and a judge can just overturn everything. So the votes didn't
It's a great question. It's a great question, and that's why you have an independent court system. The history of women's rights weren't because the majority supported women. The majority was opposing women's rights. It was the courts that affirmed women's rights that actually came out against the majority. I'll give you a perfect example. If you and I were around in 1967, and we were living in, for example, the state of Virginia, and you and I wanted to get married, we legally couldn't get married.
Right.
Because it was against the law, because the majority thought it was wrong for a minority to marry another race. That's pretty remarkable. 70% of folks opposed interracial marriage in 1967, 70%. But it was the courts that intervened and said, you know what, it's not right for a majority to oppress and direct the rights of a minority. That the Constitution of the United States has always been there to protect the minority against the will of the majority. And that's a constitutional framework that has served us well for generations and advanced civil rights and human rights, advanced gender equality, and is advancing the notion of same-sex marriage. And I know it's difficult, but again, we're talking about a minority that feels oppressed, and other minorities have been in that similar circumstance, and I hope they realize that the majority was the one oppressing them. So it's not always majoritarian rule. We're a constitutional democracy. We're not just a democracy on the basis of
it's not just democracy, it's constitutional democracy.
We have the Founding Fathers created a framework and 3 independent branches, and it's the Constitution that's always been there to protect the rights of the minority against the will of the majority. Very
well explained, but now success from that, do you think may be something that we can also feel for the immigration issue?
Yeah.
And aside from gay marriage, mainit na usapan din po ngayon ang immigration. San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom does not only want to secure a pathway to citizenship and also secure the borders. He explains to us his plans when we return. Don't go away.